What's up everybody, OJ here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna have a full breakdown of the latest rumors of a new Nintendo Switch. Some are calling Nintendo Switch Pro or just Nintendo Switch Revision. There's a lot to talk about, but I want to make sure that I do this intelligently because there's some people that are going a little bit too far with it and they're citing other things. So we're going to talk about the previous reports and what went down, and we're also going to discuss the two most latest reports on this Nintendo Switch Revision. Now, according to Economic Daily News, Nintendo will launch a brand new Nintendo Switch hardware model in early 2021. The Taipei-based newspaper claims to have received its information from manufacturing sources. Now, here's some additional information from the report courtesy of Delete12345. Awesome name, by the way. New Switch will begin production as soon as Q4 2020 FY. Will be geared to launch in Q1 FY 2021. Macronix, Pixar, and Welltrend are included on the list of new manufacturers for the next gen Switch. New Switch will have better interaction/communications, translated as more interactivity, and will have a new display quality, which may refer to more crisper output, not necessarily a resolution bump. Macronix is the manufacturer that produces the NOR flash chipset used for storage media on the Switch. Pixar is the manufacturer that will produce the next gen Joy-Con controllers, including hand gesture sensing, which is interesting because the current Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons already have that in games like 1-2 Switch. Welltrend is the manufacturer that produces and designs the USB PD on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is not the first time that we've heard this, guys, and we are going to go over to another report from Bloomberg that is backing up what this paper is saying, but they have a couple more things to add to it, which once again, we'll get to the bottom of this, guys. We're going to make sure that we do this intelligently and talk about the pros and the cons and kind of what's going on here and what's probably going to be happening. So this is from Bloomberg. Nintendo Co. plans to debut an upgraded model of its Switch console next year, along with a lineup of new games. People familiar with the matter said, seeding 2020's holiday spotlight to rival devices from Sony Corp and Microsoft Corp. The specifications of the new machine have yet to be finalized, though the Kyoto-based company has looked into including more computing power and 4K high-definition graphics, which ultimately just raise red flags right there, but we'll get into that. People briefed on the strategy told Bloomberg News, asking not to be identified because it's private. Nintendo faces stiff competition for gamers' attention this fall as the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are set to arrive in time for the shopping season. The release of the upgraded Switch would be coupled with or followed by a slew of games for Nintendo itself and related outside studios. Those games would address a wide range of players, from casual gamers seeking small doses of escapism to more devoted fans putting in marathon gaming sessions. The focus on the next year's pipeline explains Nintendo's relatively quiet software release schedule so far this year. The gaming giant has seen record-breaking hit Animal Crossing New Horizons, and the protracted COVID-19 pandemic sparked a rally of more than 70% in its share price since the game's release in March. The company has struggled to keep up with demand for its existing Switch and Switch Lite, though it said earlier this month that its production bottleneck has largely been resolved. This has been helped by plunging smartphone demand, releasing some of the pressure on suppliers. Assembly of Nintendo's next console isn't expected to begin until next year because production partners are busy making the current models, according to people informed. Now, they also talked to some analysts as well that said, quote, the Nintendo Switch will surpass the Wii sales even without an upgrade, said Ace Research Institute analyst Hideki Yatsuda, and a sound hardware update plan would even allow the Switch to surpass the Nintendo DS handheld, which I don't know about all of that, but let's talk about this here, guys. So here's the thing. Now, we have two reports, one of them saying that it's a little bit more of a next gen type of thing to where there's going to be some more serious hardware upgrades to this. But the way that they kind of position this is going to be more of a revision because it's going to play the current games. So I think that that's a little bit lost in translation, or in terms of who they're talking to, kind of lost in that shuffle. are there going to be some upgrades that could be a pro line or pro style of thought? Absolutely, there could be that. That's definitely something that is possible, but is it a next gen type of system to where it's not going to be able to play the current slew of games and it's going to have games exclusive, or it's going to be able to be backwards compatible and play exclusive games that are only available on this next Switch? No, I don't think it's going to be that, guys. It's going to be more in line with what you've probably seen from Nintendo in the past. So if you go back, the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color, right? You look at that, that was a big upgrade at the time. Or even in the next generation of modular portable systems, you have the Game Boy Advance regular to the Game Boy SP, right? That added a backlight to it. Or even if you look at something like the Nintendo DS, the Nintendo DSi, or the Nintendo 3DS to the new Nintendo 3DS. Now, in the case of the Nintendo DSi and the Nintendo 3DS to new Nintendo 3DS, they actually added horsepower to the system, more RAM, stuff like that, in order to get better performance out of some games, with some games even being exclusive on those respective platforms. So, for example, like Xenoblade Chronicles 3D on the new Nintendo 3DS. You can only play it on that system. So I do think that Nintendo might have something in the lines of that, to where they bring out an upgraded system that has more RAM for developers to use, because right now the current Switch can use about 3.5 gigabytes of RAM for developers to use, and that has been a little bit of a bottleneck for developers when porting over current generation games. So maybe Nintendo increases that RAM count from 3.5 usable to about maybe 5 gigabytes usable, or 4.5 gigabytes usable. So maybe the system has a total of 6 gigabytes of total RAM, and the interactivity that they talk about there is extra OS space for certain functions and features that are upgraded over what the current Switch has. So that's my thought process and how I'm looking at it at this point. I'm not seeing it as a complete next gen type of system to where it's going to be vastly more powerful than what we saw like a Nintendo DS, the Nintendo 3DS. That is the next generation of handheld system. I don't think it's going to be that, and there's already a number of people that are taking it that way because of the report of what's going on here, and I don't think that there's going to be any type of 4K type of upgrade. It's not going to be a portable Xbox One X or a portable PS4 Pro in your pocket, or even a portable PS4 in your pocket. What I think it's going to do is going to allow greater flexibility within the development tools of the system by increasing the RAM and increasing the build quality and things along that side. Even storage space could be included. Right now you have 32 gigabytes of on storage memory. They can probably increase that to 64. Maybe they double it for gamers out there. So I do think that's what we're going to see. Now, in terms of what we can see with the name, before we get into if this is more likely or not, or kind of other things with it, because I have some more stuff that I want to talk about. The name of the system, I think, is going to be very clean and simple. Hypothetically speaking, if this is happening, which there's a very good chance Nintendo is going to release a new revision of the Switch, I'm going to see something very clean. Nintendo Switch Advance, Nintendo Switch Plus, something along the lines of that. Now, I don't think it's going to be a much bigger system. Some people are saying like a Nintendo Switch XL. There's no need. The system is already big, and there's no need to make the system any bigger with its screen, because it's already bigger than most smartphones out there in terms of the screen size and everything. There's no need to make a bigger system like you did back in the day, because the DS Lite screens were smaller, the Game Boy Advance screens were small, so people wanted a bigger screen. But not at this point. The screen's already big enough. It's already something to where it's not a problem with screen size, so I don't see them doing that. But I do see them having a very clean name like Nintendo Switch Advance or Nintendo Switch Plus, something like that, Nintendo Switch Extra. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be something simple, like the Nintendo Switch Lite was very simple and not confusing like the new Nintendo 3DS or something along the lines of that. They're going to go back to how they did it with the Game Boy Advance, where it was very simple and easy to understand what it was, or even the Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, very simple. They're going to have that same type of line of marketing with this next Nintendo Switch. Now, why is this possible? Why do I think this is possible? Just my own personal opinion outside of what's going on here. Nintendo with their modular systems, this is a very different type of system. It's different than what they've ever done before. But if you look at any of their modular systems, like the Game Boy, if you look at the DS, anything that they've had before, they've always upgraded it in some type of way, whether it be shrinking down the size, which they've already done with the Nintendo Switch Lite, or upgrading the horsepower, upgrading the quality of the system. They've done it multiple times before, and I don't see why they wouldn't do it now at this point, because it's been a success every single time Nintendo has done it. Now, there's been varying levels depending on the generation. Game Boy Micro wasn't as popular as Nintendo probably wanted it to be. Very popular with the clamshell design, the backlight and everything. Or even the Game Boy to the Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color. Those were both very successful in their own right. Nintendo 3DS to new Nintendo 3DS, also very successful. Nintendo DS, the DS Lite, made it smaller, more form-facting, more compact and sleek. Nintendo DSi, also very good, adding a camera on there, multiple different functionalities. Nintendo has always done this and had great success with it, so why not do that with your current Switch and also make some developers happy in the process and gamers a little bit happier in the process if they can actually add some cool functionalities and things to it. And the perfect lineup of games that could do this lines up for 2021, guys, and it kind of puts a little bit of chills down my spine because I see the marketing. And as somebody who's done marketing myself and has kind of thought in those lines, I see the marketing with this upgraded Switch for more core end gamers, and you have the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 that launches alongside of it with a special edition Nintendo Switch Plus or Nintendo Switch Advance. That would be absolutely killer, and that's the thing that I think Nintendo would probably do if this does turn out to be right here. Also, if you look at stuff like Shin Megami Tensei 5, or if you look at other big games, potentially like Bayonetta 3, if it doesn't make 2020, which it's looking like it's might not going to make 2020, so 2021, something like Bayonetta 3, these core games could all take advantage of this Nintendo Switch Plus or this new Nintendo Switch that's coming out here. Even if it's not a huge upgrade, which I don't think it's going to be a massive upgrade from what we've got. Like I said, think Nintendo 3DS to new Nintendo 3DS. So that's kind of how I'm thinking with it, because everything is kind of lining up to see that system with those type of games. And maybe we even get some bigger stuff like a Mario Kart 9 later in the year, or maybe even a new Mario game like a Mario Odyssey 2 or a Mario Galaxy 3, something like that with new hardware for the core Nintendo fans and people who just want that type of modular system, and theoretically speaking could improve performance on previous games because of the updated specs. I think it's a possibility, guys. That's just my way of thinking. Because of the decades that I've seen Nintendo operate with modular systems, there's enough proof there to kind of say, yeah, Nintendo is probably going to do something in the line of that, and it makes complete sense. They have the capital, the revenue, everything's kind of going their way. They can position the older Switches as cheaper alternatives like the Switch Lite or the current Nintendo Switch, and then they can bring out this new one. The new price is $300 for that. Drop the price of the previous ones, drop the price of the Switch Lite, maybe $150, then you've got $250, then you've got $300. Right there, that's a very compelling lineup against what the other systems are doing. But on top of that, you're also competing with yourself to make sure that you have a wide range of products for consumers to pick depending on what their style of play is, whether they want the top of the line stuff that what Nintendo can bring out for their system, or they want more of just a portable, smaller end experience with the Switch Lite. So to me, it makes perfect sense that something like this would happen. But we're going to have to wait and see, because at the end of the day, this is rumors here. But I think there's enough smoke here that there's probably going to be something. Now, I know that some people are probably skeptical, and don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not sitting here and saying that all this is going to happen and everything's going to be exactly the way that they're explaining it, because we've seen and we've heard rumors, about this dating back to 2018. And I get that, but it does seem like things are lining up based on a few people that I've spoke with and also kind of what's going on in the industry right now. Things definitely seem to be lining up for there to be a new model Switch. So we'll see what happens going forward. But what are you guys' thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.